Hi, welcome back to another episode on the Healthy Wisdom series with Dr. Jen Chen. All right, Healthy Wisdomers, are you ready to continue to explore the 12 guiding principles to good governance so that we can use them as guideposts and live a remarkable life ourselves? Now, if you are tuning in for the first time, welcome. We are so excited to have you. And if I could encourage you to go back and review the previous 2 episodes so that you may get caught up, so that we are not going to kind of have anything missing in the link, because all of these guiding principles, they all have an interconnected theme within them. This is why the 12 guiding principles will lead us into I would say it provides a great roadmap for us to structure our lives, in a principled manner so that we can actually build a life that actually has as much value and also as much significance and meaningful purpose as we can make it. So without further ado, the third guiding principle today is going to be centered around the principle of empowerment. And as always, we will take it from the definition of good governance, and then we will use the same principle to apply it to our lives. So the principle of empowerment is defined as a board that delegates appropriate authority to management to manage the organization and ensures further delegation of authority to the lowest levels of the firm compatible with their capabilities. Wow, I cannot say this enough. That was definitely a mouthful. There were so many words in there. But, as we like to do, let's pare it down. Let's kind of get rid of all the sort of extra words that are kind of built in within the definition, and we can zero in on those key words that actually will help us in terms of applying the principle to our lives. So the first and foremost word that really jumps out at me is delegation, right? As it does appear twice in the definition. Delegation is actually one of the central themes to empowerment. Now, let's talk a little bit about the art of delegation, because a lot of times we as leaders or heads of households or, executives at our companies, or let's just say, just we as parents, we do have that authority to perhaps not put everything on our own plates. And we should always consider perhaps transferring some of that responsibility. In other words, we want to give others the responsibility so that we can empower them to do more, right? So if it's in the realm of parenting, you want to give your children as much responsibility as you can in terms of, their day-to-day. What are they responsible themselves for? Are they responsible for organizing their study stations, as we call it at home here? Are they responsible for keeping their clothing, their outfits, ready the night before? So there are certain things that we can actually give responsibility to them so that they may actually learn to really take responsibility and own a part of their life, right? Because as new generation parents, I do find that, or even actually in the Asian culture, we do tend to, I think the term is helicopter parenting, where we actually try to do as much as we can for our kids. And in essence, we are taking away that responsibility that they can actually own themselves so that they can take better control of their lives and the little pieces that go with it, right? So let's explore a little bit about how we can properly delegate certain things. And we can begin by maybe visiting some of the delegation mistakes that are very commonly found. in, I guess, the world of delegation, as we call it. So the first one that we tend to see is hesitation. And I think I'm probably guilty as charged for this one, because for the longest time I tend to hesitate because I always say, oh, it might take too long for me to explain how to do something. So you know what? It's a lot faster for me to just do it for them, And that actually is, I guess in the long run, it actually is very disadvantageous for a parent, for also, if you are a owner of a business, if you don't take the time to explain to your employees how to do certain things, and you just kind of end up doing it, yourself all the time, at some point in time, you're going to hit the ceiling and you're not going to have enough time to do everything yourself, right? And so what I have really worked on in the past few years is learning how to perhaps let go and be able to give some extra responsibility to those around me so that I may empower them to be able to take on that role. And I have to say, successfully speaking, it really has made a huge difference, because I have been able to free up a little bit more time so that I may focus my energies on other aspects that can either build the business, to actually free up some time so that I may prepare certain materials so that I can actually teach my children certain subjects or concepts that, they may or may not have a chance to explore at school. And so it really has freed up a lot of that for me. So the hesitation is one of those, I guess, faults and mistakes that we may make in life. The second one is to abdicate. Wow, that's a kind of a big word, right? To abdicate, really, to kind of, I guess, layman terms it would be like a dump and run type of delegation tactic. Basically, you just tell somebody, hey, you're responsible for that, without any explanation or giving any clear instructions, and you just decide that they're going to have to figure it out, and you basically then don't coach that person or instruct them in anything, in any way. And it's unfortunate because abdicating is very difficult to actually have somebody feel empowered. And as a result, any mistakes that, arise from that, of course, on the receiving end, you feel like, oh my gosh, why didn't that, why weren't you able to take care of that? It's such a simple thing, and so a little bit of resentment will build. There's going to be resentment from both sides. The person who you delegated or abdicated to, they all feel kind of in the muggy waters because they weren't given any instructions on how to carry out a task. And that's actually very difficult for them to be able to just go, oh yeah, I'm going to read your mind, right? Like, I don't think so. So abdication is definitely not delegation. And of course, we'll talk about, how to actually properly delegate in the next bit after we cover the third. And last but not least, the suffocating type of delegation, where us control freaks, again, I take part of this one as well, because I sometimes will tend to go into micromanagement because I'm worried. I'm if anything, I never abdicate because I'm always going, okay, did you get that? Did you understand that? Is there something that you would like me to, kind of go over again? And I tend to kind of micromanage. As I was learning the art of, good delegation, I definitely made, two of these grand mistakes. And when I realized that I was micromanaging, then what I did was I kind of stepped back and I just let my employee breathe. I let my children breathe. And as a result, I let myself breathe a little as well. So those are the three most common mistakes that people make when they are trying to enlist their team or enlist their family members to take more responsibility of certain tasks. Now, there are a few delegation tips that I'd like to sort of walk you through, and it's something that I actually have done myself, and I do feel that it's very helpful. So the first part is to take inventory of all the tasks that you are currently doing, right? Because you need to kind of know, okay, what are the things that I'm doing in my day to day, right? And you want to then go through that entire list and pick out those items that technically, if it's not something that only you can do, it's delegatable. Is that a word? Okay, well, it is now delegatable. So basically, something that can be delegated, right? So that's the first step. You definitely have to take inventory of all your tasks, all the things that you're doing, so that when you delegate those tasks that are not necessarily things that you absolutely have to do yourself, then you could probably delegate it. The second thing is you have to identify your desire zone tasks. So not only do you want to categorize, your tasks as delegatable or not, you want to build as much joy as you can into your day, right? So you want to then, I use a little like color star. I have this like 12 color pen that I use. So different colors mean different things in my head. So when I love something, I usually designate it to be red. Something important, something I love, I always use red. So I usually use a star system, and I put stars down my list to indicate how much do I love it. If I absolutely love it like so much, I'm so passionate about this task, I will put 3 red stars. Okay. And then for those tasks that I don't enjoy as much, but I still love to do, and those that are absolutely like necessary for me to do myself, those are the ones that I give 1 to 2 to 3 stars, right? So basically go down through your list and then you do that. And that then brings us to step number 3, which is you delegate everything that you cannot eliminate or automate, and you delegate that to somebody else. Okay. And I'm talking about in this example, in terms of, the tasks that you have to do in a day, like for, your day-to-day tasks, whether it's in your business, in your home life and or in say like, your corporate job, for example, so a little bit more like that, not in terms of, teaching your kids. So that, we can have a more concrete example that we can kind of draw from. And then once you've delegated everything on that list, right? So what I do is, again, everything that I don't enjoy sort of doing as much, I use the color blue, like I use a bright blue for that. And the bright blue actually helps me kind of see in my brain, oh, okay, these are the tasks that need to go. Anything that needs to go. Anything more negative, anything that needs to go, that's usually what I use a bright blue for. And so I go down that list. I see my red stars and I see the blue. I usually use arrows for that. So if they need to go, I use bright blue arrows. And then so if you are, again, I forgot to remind you guys to bring your journals around, but after you finish this episode, what you can do is you can sit down with your journal, write down your entire list, identify the ones that you love. You can use my system. I'm totally sharing it with you because I think it's very useful. So do the red star system, the blue arrow system, to make sure that you see which tasks are those that you are passionate and you love and you enjoy, and then which of those tasks need to be delegated and passed to somebody else. And I guess in a more sort of like analytical sense of things, you want to do step number 4, which is you want to consider what is it costing you to do these tasks now, right? So for example, if it's a task that you absolutely love,